What is going on, everybody? How are you all doing? Today, we are talking about my absolute most favorite 80s horror movie. That being John Carpenter's The Thing. Now, I'm gonna be brutally honest with y'all, like insanely honest and extremely honest. This is gonna be my most biased review ever. Like, I'm talking about a glazing overload at Krispy Kreme headquarters level of glaze. Like, it's gonna be insane. I love this movie. This was like the only horror movie I would actually find the other ones okay, or like not the other ones, but like the other not even sequels. There's like remakes they did. I didn't hate the one they did in like 2012, and I never really got to see the older one because I can't find it anywhere for like, I don't know, for free. I can't even find it on a pirating service. But enough of that. You don't want to, hear about how I'm too broke to do that. I will say though, you guys like watching my horrible summarizations of really good movies, but the thing I will say is this movie is going to need a heavy disclaimer. Some of the practical effects these absolute mad lads made are not for the faint of heart. I'm telling you, like, it is kind of crazy with some of the stuff they do, and since this is all practical effects, like no CGI or anything, these guys use like melted gum and plastic to show a guy's head falling off of his body, and it is like disgusting, and it is so cool at the same time. Like, this entire film is gory, bloody, and a great sense of distrust amongst everybody. Like, it's all of the fun things of tense and terrifying all wrapped into one thing. Alright, like I said, heavy glazing today. Deal with it. We're going to start the movie right now. The movie starts out with some Norwegians hunting down a husky for seemingly no reason, but the Norwegian man's helicopter ends up exploding after they land in the American part of the Arctic Circle. As he shoots the dog and one of the Americans, they one-tap this man in the face as he was chasing the dog, screaming in Norwegian to the people that let his dog lick the face. Now, why was he screaming? It was kind of an alien, It was a pretty bad one. They even say, like, in the movie that it runs like a couple hundred miles from coast to like central of like Antarctica, which is insane. But what are you gonna do? Alien. Fast forward a little bit, and the Americans have some problems with this dog. That including, but not limited to, the friggin' alien dog busting itself wide open just to absorb and eat the other dogs. Another thing is it also separates itself and disappears into the vents as its body is being burnt alive. Our amazing American crew decided to go to the wreckage that the Norwegians had been playing around in to see what they were doing, and they end up discovering that aliens are real, which blows their minds wide open to any concept, including your parents' divorce, which is pretty wild. Now, this unfortunate piece of news of them dealing with an alien kinda seems pretty wild when they understand that this thing will do anything and everything to survive by any means. It begins to spark a fire of anxiety and a feeling of fear, since the alien can actually morph into anybody just after like a little particle being in them. And if you remember that little callback I said about when the dog licked three people's faces, it's gonna be like, brace yourself. But we get to see the raw emotion of true terror when one of the men named Bennings is confronted by one of the other men, MacReady. MacReady thinks that he had this alien creature thing detained, but by the time he gets back, he finds the shattered window to the cold, snowy outdoors. MacReady raises the alarm to call all the men to see if he can hunt it down and kill it, and by the time they find it, it's outside, and they surround them all, and they throw gasoline on it so it can be properly soaked, and they throw a flare. After they burn the body, people begin to descend into paranoia. First seen in the local doctor, Blair. What Blair does is he destroys all forms of transportation, such as their buggies, their helicopter. He even kills the dogs, which is really sad. That one I would also recommend looking away with because it's kind of sad. I mean, they panned the shot too, and it's just a red mess with dog hair. But, you don't want to hear about that. I'd still recommend go watching it to see it. But Blair, in a last-ditch effort of fear, tells MacReady to watch Clark. another guy at the American camp due to the fact that he was the closest to the alien when it first came as a dog. After this, they all have the idea to test the blood of everybody, just to see if they can differentiate it from humans to not humans. But the way they did this was like if it kind of reacted to not infected blood, and they said if it was going to attack it, then they were alien. But if they didn't, they were just regular people. But oh, hold on, guys, I'm getting a text. Okay, I forgot that I actually have something to do. Um, I have to do this thing in 8 hours. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it is something pertaining for tomorrow's video. But I'm gonna have to speed run this video. So if I miss and skip over a lot of things, it's because I am currently in a speed run. All right, y'all. I'm gonna keep it a buck. Ready? All right. I gotta get a deep breath. This is gonna be like one of the speed raps from like 8 Mile. All right. Fuchs is dead. He was the guy conducting the blood experiments. MacReady said he'd blow the camp all the way to Kingdom Come because he was betrayed by his friend Childs. And MacReady, after being told he was going to be killed, he decides to get into the head that he samples everybody's blood and puts hot copper wire into it to see if it reacts. This causes a man who looked like he would sell his dollar corn liquor in front of the local Walmart turned out to be one of the aliens. So, what does he do? He uses a flamethrower. What does a flamethrower not do? It doesn't throw any flames. Why? It's because he's been playing with it all week. So, with this problem, he ends up getting another guy named Windows killed. After all of the people are dead and they test the rest of the blood, they kill off anybody. They burn Windows' body because he also ended up getting infected in the midst of him being mauled to death. They decide to check on Blair because they never got to check his blood. And they all found out Blair's the last remaining alien alive. So what does he end up doing? He ends up burrowing into the bottom of the camp, and he ends up making a little spaceship out of any helicopter part, car part. If he had anything he could do to use to make it into like a spacecraft, he found it and used it. But what he ends up doing is he tries to freeze everybody out by killing the generators. The reason it did this is so since it couldn't leave, it had to freeze itself and wait for the rescue team to thaw out and eat them all. So, my boy MacReady came up with the beautiful idea of let's blow it up. And he put bombs all over the bottom of the camp and he exploded everything along with some other people that was left alive. The scene ends up cutting out and it finds MacReady and Childs at the end and they're sitting sharing a drink in front of burning piles of house. Alright, so that was my review and speedrun of John Carpenter's The Thing. Unfortunately, it wasn't as biased as I wanted it to be, but sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. And I probably should have remembered that I had something to do and that I should not have made this video right now. But I was dedicated to give you a 31 days of horror movies, and that's what we're gonna do. But if you've made it this far, you guys are a goated viewer. Comment both of D's if you hear this. And as always, I hope you enjoyed.